Yes, they do.
Excellent!
Hello everyone, welcome to Paul's Hardware. This is my monthly builds video for August 2015, and I'm going to call this the Skylake edition. I know it's a little bit late, it's actually August 13th now, but I wanted to wait until the Skylake processors were out because I wanted to do builds based on the Skylake processors. Another question you guys might have is, what about those July builds that you also did, Paul? Because you said you were going to build one. I am still going to build one. I'm going to build the X99 entry-level system. I have all the parts for that. Skylake kind of pushed that back a little bit. But like I said in that video, even if you're building on X99 right now, and even though Skylake came out in the interim, X99 is still like the high-level enthusiast platform, and it's still a very, very good way to go. But for today's video, I have two builds to share with you guys. One of them is the $1,000 balance build that was actually requested by y'all last month. So I posted the straw poll, a bunch of people responded, thanks to all you guys who voted, and as you can see at the top there is the all-rounder, $800,000 multi-purpose build, so I went for $1,000. And then also on this list we had votes for other things. The other build I'm doing is more of a high-end gaming build, so I guess you could kind of say you guys voted for that one as well. And since these are Skylake builds, it just kind of makes sense that I'm using the two new Skylake processors to base them off of. So the 6600K, which is about $250 right now, and the 6700K, which is about $350 right now. So with that all said, let's go ahead and dive in. But actually, no, let's not dive in yet. Let's also share with you guys in chat and whatnot the straw poll for this month. So you guys can already start voting on that, and feel free to do so. What kind of systems builds do you want to see for September? I kept some of the ones on from last month, such as the Mini ITX Overkill system. I did a 4K gaming system for $4,000, which might be interesting, and that would be including monitor and peripherals. Do another console killer, try to redeem myself there. Video editing system, silent or fanless HTPC, or a really, really cheap system similar to the one that Kyle recently built. So those are your options there. Feel free to vote if you're watching this on YouTube. Links to all this stuff is down in the description. But let's get started. I'm using PC Part Picker for these builds, as I have been continuing to do because it's a great website to put together builds and kind of get low prices on things. So this is the more expensive build. This is the right about $2,000 price point. This one's based on the 6700K, and I went ahead and threw a GTX 980 Ti in there as well for the graphics card. So 6700K, we got an NZXT Kraken, however you want to pronounce that, X61, Gigabyte Z170X gaming motherboard, Corsair Vengeance memory, Corsair Neutron XT SSD, and EVGA Geforce Gtx 980 Ti 6 gig video card, NZXT Noctis 450, and of course 850 watt power supply. This build is another build that I'm also going to be building. I know I said that last month, but what you guys have looking forward to very soon, so you should make sure to subscribe to my channel, is like back-to-back builds. I'm going to do the this Skylake build, and then I'm also going to be doing the other build from last month, the X99 entry-level build. And maybe I'll like pit them against each other or something. But let's run down the parts. Of course, the 6700K processor. This is the new Skylake goodness. It's actually on sale now. $360 at NCIX, but it should be around $350, $360. It's a really good processor from my testing so far. You can get decent overclocks on it, 4.6 to 4.8 gigahertz. You do need a cooler for it, so that's why we got the NZXT Kraken X61, which is a nice big 280mm all-in-one liquid cooler from NZXT, and that pairs up nicely with the case. Wait, I wanted to show the case next. Where'd the case go? There's the case. See, I have too many tabs and they're all tiny. There's the case, which is the NZXT Noctis 450. So this is the kind of the successor, sort of, to the NZXT H440. And I never actually built in the H440, although it did get many, many good reviews and feedbacks and all that good stuff. So I'm going to build in this one now, and this one's cool. It's got like ground effect lighting and stuff like that, which is kind of pretty cool. So we'll be taking a look at this one, and you know, nice big side panel window and all that good stuff. And this is, what is it, 140? But I think you can actually get it for as cheap as, where'd that go? 130. Well, 130 on Newegg if you get an instant rebate. All right. So apart from the case, CPU cooler. We also have this Gigabyte Z170X Gaming 7 motherboard. This is kind of a black, white, and red build all together. So that's how that went, I guess. And this motherboard actually, so the motherboard I'm using in the build is about $220 right now. The motherboard I'm actually going to build with is this one. and I'm actually not even sure yet if this is going to fit, because this is an EATX board, and I don't know if it'll fit in that case. If it doesn't, then I'll probably end up just hitting up Gigabyte and seeing if I can get the Gaming 7, because this one is like the flagship Z170 board from Gigabyte, and it's $500 freaking dollars, which is cool for some people, but that's pretty expensive. Also, for the memory for this build, I'm using some Corsair Vengeance LPX series DDR4. So this is a 2x8 gig kit, and I can show you the pricing and whatnot for that too, theoretically. I like this kit because it's nice, low profile, black, blends in, 2666 speed, so decent little overclock. Not that memory overclocking gets you a whole lot of extra performance, but it's going to do a good job, and it's 2x8 gigs, which means you have upgrade potential. I always like having upgrade potential, so the 2x8 gigs will allow you to add 2 more sticks in the future if you wanted to update it to 32. We also have a Corsair Neutron XT SSD, 480 gig. You might notice that I don't really do a whole lot of hard drives in builds these days, and there's a specific reason for that. It's because I think for your money, the SSD is more important. That's going to get you more performance out of the gate. And I think most all of us have an old hard drive lying around, a 1 or 2 terabyte, hard drive that we don't use anymore, or carrying it over from an older system, or grab that hard drive that we talked about on the live show the other day, which is like $50 for a 2 terabyte, because it's really not that much money. But I prefer to have that flexibility when it comes to it. But as far as the SSD itself, this Neutron XT has gotten amazingly good reviews. It's a 480 gigs, so it's going to give you plenty of room for your OS and lots of games and apps and stuff, so happy with that one. The video card, as I already mentioned, is a GTX 980 Ti. I chose the generic one here because I have one, so that's what I'm going to put in the build. This is also kind of a diplomatic choice because there's so many 980 Ti's out there in different variants, and I have the EVGA one, but it wouldn't really match with this build as much, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this one. And if you guys are actually putting this system together, go ahead and pick your poison as far as other 980 Ti's that are out there, because there's a bunch of really good examples. Okay, power supply is a Corsair RM850i. This is a brand new power supply. Corsair just announced this series at Computex, and they're actually available on the market now. These are 80 plus gold. They're fully modular. They're very nice units. They're black and white, which is going to blend in with a lot of different system builds. And I like that all the modular cables, as you probably can't tell too well here, are all black as well. So those are going to blend in and match, and not going to get the nasty different colored cable thing going on. Oh wait, I'm skipping forward. So yeah, that's my $2,000 Skylake 6700K build. And I think this one's going to be a beast. And as mentioned, I'm going to be putting this together, so stay tuned for that one coming in the future. Next up is the $1,000 all-around build. And when it comes to an all-around build, I guess I would ask the question of what do you mean by an all-around build? Well, basically, I'm looking for something that's just not specifically aimed at gaming, although gaming is obviously going to be a very key thing that you do with this system. But it means that you're looking for a more powerful CPU, for example. You're not necessarily going to go for a more budget-oriented CPU because you're going to want to be able to do other things with it besides just game. And often you can get away with a lower-end CPU if all you're doing is gaming. It also means I'm going for a slightly more powerful GPU, and then it also means that I want to have, again, as I usually do with builds, lots of upgrade potential. I want to be able to add things onto this to make it do other things than just what it can do out of the box. And if it wasn't already obvious by everything I've already said, we're starting out with the 6600K for the base level CPU for this build. So there's the whole build together. Oh look, the price went down. I built this all last night, and it was $999, and I was like, perfect, just under $1,000. And then this morning I looked, and it was $1,020, because the prices, they change all the time. But now, by the time the video started, I think this is thanks to a couple mail-in rebates that got applied. The price of the power supply dropped down. It's down under $1,000 again, so $996 here. So we've got a 6600K, a Hyper 212 Evo, an MSI Z178 Crate motherboard, ADATA 2x4 gig memory kit, SanDisk 240 gig SSD, an Asus GTX 970 graphics card, NZXT S340 case, and an EVGA 500 watt power supply. So let's kind of run down each of these little components here, and we'll talk a little bit about each one. 6600K obviously goes without saying. This is overclockable K-SKU, quad-core, no hyper-threading, but a very good processor. I actually have one of these on the way, so I'm going to be doing some 6600K testing very soon. And Apart from that, it doesn't come with with a CPU cooler. So there's a Cooler Master Hyper 212, which is kind of my go-to default because it's like $25-30, does a really good job cooling, and it's 25 or 30 bucks. I was scouring around because I actually put some thought into the aesthetics and the look of this build, and I wanted like something that looks a little bit nicer because Hyper 212, it's just, it's got the bare aluminum and copper. You might consider this Enermax. I know I talk about the Enermax ETS T40, and I've used the black one a couple times. I just feel like it's the best, like as far as a good-looking cooler that is available in a couple colors, white and black. Does a really good job cooling as well. It's only like $10-15 more than a Hyper 212, although they seem to be harder to find these days. So anyway, keep an eye out for that one if the Hyper 212 isn't your cup of tea or you want to make things look a bit prettier. Moving on to the graphics card. This is a Geforce GTX 970. And maybe some of you are looking at this video right now and scowling and saying, Paul, why are you putting a 970 in this build? Well, I have an answer for you. I'm going to come back to it in just a moment. But this, I thought, was a unique little card from Asus. You don't see non-reference cards that actually have blower-style coolers very often. So I kind of like the look at this card if you're doing a specialty build. And when I chose it, I kind of based some of the other aesthetics of the system around this one. So that's why I went, for example, with the white NZXT S340 case, which is right here. I hope I can mouse over this stuff because this is some weird... Newegg has some weird stuff going on. Yeah, see, it doesn't work. It doesn't work the way it used to. Anyway, S340. This is like Hardware Canucks gave this like a best value or bang for the buck or something like that award. It's like you can get this as cheap as like $55 sometimes when it's on sale. ATX case fits everything in there nice and easy, and it's available in black or white. And I chose the white one here because it's like black. It's again kind of black, white, and red. I guess this is the theme with a lot of my builds. That's why also for the motherboard, I went with this MSI Z170A crate, which is black and white and a little bit of red, and will blend in beautifully. I like this board because it's got your Z170 features. It's got all kind of the base level Z170 features that you would want. Only $150 and a very nice look to the board as well. I like what MSI has done with a lot of their crate series motherboards. For memory, I was looking for some white memory. Couldn't really find much DDR4 that was white. Went for black, and it was kind of played out. So I was like, oh, well, we got black, white, and red going on here. Why don't we do some accent with the XPG from AData. Nice black PCBs, red heat spreaders, and I think as an accent color in this build, it would look nice. Of course, if you don't want this specific memory, it's really easy to swap out a different 2x4 gigabyte kit. That's the main point here, is you want a 2x4 gig kit, which will kind of get you in there on the DDR4 train, dual channel, not a whole lot of money, and then gives you a couple upgrade slots again in the future to add more memory. And AData has apparently a large robot that uses its memory as wings. That's fantastic. All right, SSD, as mentioned, I gotta go with an SSD for this. So this is a SanDisk, 240 gig. This is their SSD Plus, slightly older. It's not quite as fast as the brand new ones, but honestly, for a 240 gig SSD, it's really fast. It's $78, and it's black and red, and it matches as well. I like SanDisk's SSDs because they actually manufacture the NAND. I think they do the NAND. Pretty sure they do the NAND. And I think this one might have a SandForce controller in it, but that's still okay. And then for the power supply, I went with the EVGA 500B. This is an 80 plus bronze 500 watt power supply, which has more than enough juice for a 970 base system. But going back to those of you who might have looked at this build and thought, Paul, why'd you go with the 970? You can get more performance for your dollar for a $1,000 system, and I would say yes. And that's why you guys get a bonus build, right? Yay for bonus builds. Hit the like button if you want a bonus. Wait, hit the like button if you enjoy bonus builds, or if you like the video, I guess. This is a $1,000 all-rounder, very, very similar configuration to the one I just showed you. However, this one I've swapped out just a few parts in order to give us an AMD-based graphics card instead of an NVIDIA-based graphics card, and that is the MSI R9 398 gig. And I actually ended up swapping out 3 pieces for this slightly altered build because we have an R9 390, which uses a decent amount more power, a good 100 watts more than what you need for a 970. So with this, we also have an upgraded power supply. Wait, there it is. The EVGA 600B. And actually, if you're looking at the NVIDIA-based one, you might just go ahead and get this power supply as well because it was as cheap as $50 is only like $5 or $8 more than the 500 watt version, and it's got pretty much all the same features and everything. Very solid power supplies from EVGA. Yeah, it's nice that they have those coming in at a pretty low price. They're partially modular. And then for this one, since we didn't have that white 970 from Asus, I went for the black version of the S340, so you could swap that out as well. So 3 different parts there, and you end up coming in. Wow, the price has actually also dropped on this. Last night this was about 1,020, and now it's 1,001. 1,187, so still coming in at just about the same price point. Main difference with the AMD side is you're going to be using more power, so it's not going to be as efficient, but you're going to get a decent boost when it comes to like frame rate and everything. And the R9 390 has 8 gigs of GDDR5 memory, whereas the GTX 970 has 3.5 gigs. Well, it's got 4 gigs, but 3.5 that are good, and then the rest is we've all discussed the GTX 970 thing in the past. So there we go. That is my 2 builds, actually 2 plus 1 build, since I did a double build for the $1,000 system. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, but I'm always looking for your feedback, so post it in the comments and let me know what you thought of these builds. Always looking for like alternates or variants, or like, hey, I did the same price point with a few other parts swapped out and maybe get a little bit more performance. I always like those types of things because it's always fluctuating and there's always more you can do. But stay tuned for the July X99 build, as well as that $2,000 build. Oh wait, I should go back to this. Stay tuned for the July X99 build that I'm going to be doing soon. Also stay tuned for this $2,000 system that I showed you today, because I'll be building that very soon as well. Other than that, you can visit my store if you are interested in shirts, mugs, or glasses. That's store.paulshardware.net, and you can buy some of those little things to help me out in my channel. Of course, you can like the video, subscribe to my channel for all that stuff I've already talked about. And as always, thank you for watching.